It is another Saturday and I'm alive again. I mean, these Saturdays comes so often. Today we're going to look into the task of conquering the Leviathan spirit. My name is Emmanuel and I will be with you for this section. I'm broadcasting from Norway and, as I said, we're going to have a look at the Leviathan spirit. Welcome to Spirit Talk by Free Legions, a platform for those who love God and seek fellowship without crippling judgment, without the human control systems, and without the religious ways of the world. So come join us as we dig into spiritual issues that are related to our everyday life. Hi there. It's been an hectic week. I've been, last weekend I was at a prophetic gathering and I have so many things that I would like to share with you from that. But right now, I'm going to dig into the topic of the Leviathan spirit because that's what I started before I went there. And so if you want to know more about that, I had a show last Saturday called The Leviathan Spirit. And basically, it went through the stuff that I had explored and found about it in my personal journey. And today, I'm going to continue that journey because there are still elements that are very interesting that, they popped up in my path. And so I'm going to share it with you. Just to sum it up, the Leviathan spirit, as far as I have come to know it, it is a force that is a master of twisting communication and creating deceptions. And it's a very powerful force. It is described in the Bible as someone you can simply not defeat, someone that you as a human being is completely helpless against. It is only by the help of God that we can overcome this. And, I didn't start out as a youth saying, wow, I have this Leviathan spirit and that's my enemy. But I did understand that I had an enemy, like an arch enemy. Arch enemy or arch enemy? I don't know how you say it. Anyway, throughout life, it became very clear that I had this thing that would find me no matter what I did. What other people did, it could be okay, but if I did it, I knew how it would go. And it was not based on fear. It was based on experience that you just saw that it happened. And through that, all of these surprises, I got to learn that, there's something here that is not right. And what I noticed was that any empowering connection or community, anything that could, lead to a breakthrough in a positive direction, that would be attacked. And I learned the skill of how to, be diplomatic and handle things well. And I think I've done all kinds of stuff to go around it and to sort it in a human way, in the ways that are available to me as a human being. And what I learned is that, just like the Bible says, it's hopeless. You can just simply not do it in your own strength. Because this is like a psychological game and you're playing up against someone that is seeing everything on the other side. Someone that is able to manipulate and form our thoughts and our perceptions and our understanding of the situation. So it is a tricky, tricky thing. However, that has ended up being my arch enemy. And so whether I liked it or not, it was something I had to, well, relate to and conquer. If I wanted something good in life, I would have to conquer this. Not me as a person, but together with God through His power. But still, I had to do something, because if I didn't, it would just go on. So I had no idea what it looked like. I had no idea what it was called. But throughout the years, I got to learn the traits and the characteristics of this force, because it always stepped in at the wrong moments and destroyed and stole things that are, well, really, really creating a lot of suffering and pain. And, well, I learned that demons and forces can indeed hold territory within us. Like, for example, they are occupying this and that area of your life. It doesn't mean that we are demon possessed, but it means that we are under their influence or under their power in certain areas. And that pulls us back to the things that I've been talking about before, about us having so many rooms and so many layers inside of us. And you know, with all of these layers and rooms, we don't know what is in all of them. I believe, in my case, that I inherited something. I came to this earth and I had a lot of rooms that I had no idea was there. I didn't ask for them. I you know, it took a long time until I realized that they were there, and it was just something that was delivered to me with no instruction, you know, no note saying that, oh, by the way, you know, down there in the basement there's a bunch of demons controlling your relations and your community skills and, you know, those kind of things. I didn't get that, and that's how it is for most of us. I've never met anyone who got that kind of note, so I think we can say that's how it goes for all of us. But then again, even if I didn't invite it in, perhaps I did, but it was there all the time ever since I was a tiny, tiny little child. And so no matter why it was there or how it got there, I had to do something to get it out. Now, exactly what? That is the question. How do we know what to do? That's not a given. It's not easy. I mean, the Bible tells us certain things, but that is theory, and theory is fine. It is very, very good. However, doing it in real life is always different. It's like driving a car. You can read as much as you want about it, but until you've done it, until you're actually in that car, it's gonna be really, really hard to master it. And so that was what this was about. I could read any kind of theory, but it wouldn't help me unless I really mastered it, because I had this issue that was a big, big problem in my life. And well, either I mastered it and got God into it to resolve it, or not. No theory could tell me that, wow, now it's fine, if it wasn't. So, you know, and that's what I'm going to go into, what happened. I don't have, you know, the recipe for how to do this. I'm just going to share what happened in my life. And, well, as I told you, I had this arch enemy, this thing that came up again and again and again and caused so much suffering in my life. And not just for me personally, but it stopped me from doing the things that I really felt I was called to do. So it was kind of like an obstacle put in my way, perhaps simply because I was called to do something. And in order to do that, in order to fulfill the mission that I was called to do, I had to overcome this. But how? Well, that's what I wondered. Some weeks ago, I was sobbing. Once again, I really felt the pressure and the pain of all the things that had been stolen and destroyed by this unseen force, unnamed, this thing. Of course, it came from darkness, it came from the enemy, it came from the devil, but still there's more details to it, and I needed to know more in order to be set free. And so I was into this hole of hopelessness just for a day. Not that I was going around all the time, but it popped up. And I gave it to God. I said, this is impossible for me. I can carry on as in the way that I do. I can handle this, but still, it's out of my hands. I can't overcome it on my own. I know it's impossible, and I was hopeless. I was feeling that hopelessness because I'd given it to God so many times before. This was not the first time like, please God, help me with this. It was like the 20th time of like, when is it gonna open up? When am I gonna get rid of this? And so I just went into crying. And as I cried, it was as if I sank deep down into myself. As if I let myself just fall down and I gave up. It's like saying to God that I don't have a chance. There's just simply no way. There's no muscle inside of me. There's no strength. There's nothing that believes that I can do something about this, because this is in your hands. You alone can change this. And as I was digging into that, or sinking into that feeling, and just like it felt as if I was sinking down into my own basement, to say it that way, into my own depth. And as I did that, I started seeing whales deep down beneath me, as if they had a big gigantic pool down there somewhere. And I understood that it was the force, it was my arch enemy, swimming around there, lucky and happy that they hadn't been caught yet, and occupying a space in my life where I definitely didn't want them to be. And so I cried out to Yeshua, Jesus Christ, and I just said, this is out of my hands. Please take them. Please release me from this. I had gone through so many things in my life, so I had come to know this enemy. I knew how it was operating. I could sniff it out very quickly, and I knew its tricks and its methods. And now I even had learned the name, because some weeks earlier somebody told me this is the Leviathan spirit, and told me this and this and that, and I was like, yeah, that's my arch enemy. And now I even saw them. I saw how they were swimming around, what they looked like. It was like whale kind of shark, big sea monster thing. Doesn't mean that it has to look like that, but God works with symbols, and so we understand based on symbols. If it looks like that for real, I don't know. But I do know that God speaks to us in symbols and shows us things and allows us to see things however He wants it, so that we understand. And so I was there. Okay, I know the name. I know the characteristics. Now I see them. What more do you want? I mean, do I need their phone number and address. Is there a hidden form of 10 pages that I have to fill out the right way and apply, and it's going to be 3 weeks of waiting and then 1 year of processing, and if you write something wrong then it's not going to work? I mean, I'm not complaining about God, but I was there. I was kind of like, what more do you want? When is this going to end? And, well, something happened in that state of hopelessness. God came and everything changed, and I found His peace and everything became good. And so I concluded that, okay, I'd gone through another wave, and He'd helped me through it, and I was one step closer to being released from this. And my hopes were very modest. It was like, okay, I've gone through this so many times. I've had a battle and I fought it, and I thought, oh wow, now it's done. And it wasn't. And it was tearing down my, well, sustainability, my strength to think that now it's over. So I learned to say, okay, that was one step. Now it's perhaps just 100 left, and when I'll be something like 50 or 150 years old, I'll be done, you know. So just keep on walking. And I'm sure God is laughing sometimes by my thoughts, but that was kind of like my way, like, okay, I managed to cross this, and one step closer. And I went to bed, and God gave me a dream that I really believe was an answer, or like a confirmation of things that happened. So in the dream, I went to the bathroom, both me and my daughter. And I know bathroom dreams are not the coolest ones, but it is important. But it was just a tiny little detail in this dream, but it does speak about cleansing out. And cleansing out is important, especially when we are dealing with forces and enemies and stuff inside we want to get rid of. So that was the beginning of the dream. And then I went outside, and I went to a garden, a big public park that I'd been to many times before. And a garden is a place of intimacy. It's a place of connecting with others. It is not inside the house, so it's not completely private, but it's still, you know, protected and cozy, and a place for sharing and interacting. Exactly as the topic that I've been talking about, which was connections and relations and community. And this was a public park, so I spoke about like a public community, like a bigger thing where everybody could come and interact and share and be together. And so in this park, I'd been many times before, but today in this dream, it was closed. They were renovating it. They were changing everything. And so while they were doing that, it was closed. And so I took up my phone and I made a phone call to the ones that was responsible for the park, the ones that was kind of like the administrators. And they told me that the park was being renovated, and they shared, you know, a little bit about the visions. It's going to be very, very beautiful, a lot better than before. And I was shown these red flowers, which is kind of like a symbol of the grace of God and His power, His redemption power. And they told me that the park had new owners. And it wasn't just like, okay, in a month or something like that, they're going to take over. It was instant. And I was very surprised, and it was made very clear in the dream that It was instant. It was new owners now, and tomorrow morning the park would be open again with new owners, and it would be ready and renovated. So what do you think that means? Well, of course, it spoke about the territory that I'd been praying about, the public area, the community area that had been renovated, and it had new owners, not in a month, not in 50 years, but right now. And so it was a confirmation, giving great hope that it is done. It is really done. I can trust and lean on this, that I'm actually done with it. That what has been a negative for such a long time has actually turned into a positive. And perhaps it's not going to be, the big hallelujah right away, but even the smallest step in the right direction, that moment of crossing over from negative experiences into positive, that is a breakthrough. And we can all have this. We all have our areas where we are under an enemy. Somebody else is occupying our inner territory, areas in our life. And it is a struggle, but this was such a great confirmation that it does work. God is answering our prayers, and it can change. There is a very, very clear connection. Now, I've been speaking about my arch enemy, and we all have these enemies. I'd been praying to get rid of him, and I kind of been praying for all the symptoms of his presence. But it took about 40 years for me to understand who he was and where all of these symptoms were coming from. But the moment that I could see him and know his identity, and also know the identity of God, and be connected to both, in the way that I was seeing it and being aware of it, and also being connected to God. In that moment, that arch enemy was defeated. It is time for the Norwegian word of the day. Yippee! So today I'm going to be talking about arch enemy, and in Norwegian that is erkefiende. It is, as in English, composed of two different words. And so arch, I don't know if it's the exact same word, if you can use it in other settings, but what we use instead of arch is erke. And erke, it kind of means, well, if you had something that is super, like a prime minister, not just a minister, but a prime minister. And so we have erke. And then we have enemy, which in Norwegian is fiende. We put them together and we get erkefiende. I'll spell it for you. It's ERKEFIENDE. Erkefiende. And that is something that we really want to conquer. I told you then, when I had all of these kind of things going on, I didn't know that the Bible told us that the Leviathan spirit is often portrayed as a whale or a sea monster. It can be portrayed as other things as well, like a dragon and even a serpent or a crocodile. But most often it is portrayed as a sea monster. And as I found out that, I was amazed because I had been in contact with that kind of sea monster, that kind of whale thing before. So I had the experience of the whales, and later on I read in the Bible about the Leviathan, and I read it before, but I didn't see it, but now I just saw it. The sea monster, the focus on all of these things, it was what I had seen. And as I understood that I'd actually seen this enemy, I also came to understand that I'd seen it before. I can't share that story right now because that's a very, very long story. I'm not sure if I could do it in one show. I would have to put it in several. I'm not sure how to do it. I have to think about that. But in short, I had a very powerful vision from God that happened during an incredibly difficult period where indeed communication and lies and deception was all around me, and I was in big danger. And so I had this experience of basically standing up at the bottom of the sea with only a tiny thin film of light as my protection against the most tremendously big sea monsters ever. And that was an image of the situation I was in. I was done, you know. I just could not do anything in that situation, and I was surrounded by sharks and monsters, but I was also in the light. And even if that light was as thin as, you know, a piece of paper, or even thinner, nothing could touch me. And that was what God showed me. And I was like, gee, God, is that you? What if I'm just making this up in my mind, you know? I really hope that is you, because that's my only hope. And luckily, I got to find out through a very tough journey that indeed it was God. He was there. And, well, as I said, I'll have to do that in a different show, but I'm just touching upon it because it is amazing when we get images from God and we see things, or we get words and things like that, and we don't understand the meaning. But then as life goes on, and as we learn new things and come closer to Him, or read more fervently, more, you know, with more accuracy in the Bible, we realize that, wow, that's what I experienced. I find that truly amazing. Now there is another thing, and that is, while I was preparing for this show, I spoke to some of my friends, and I mentioned that I was going to make a show about the Leviathan spirit. And then one of them told me that, oh, you know, that's the king of the children of pride. And that's what it says in Job. In the end of, I think it's Job 41, I may be wrong, but, well, it's Job at least. But in the end there it says that this monster is the king of the children of pride. And then I spoke to another one, and he said that, oh, Leviathan, the psychopath spirit. And I find that very interesting as well. And so it you know, I know that some people may think that the Leviathan is about pride, and it might be so, but I do believe that it is indeed mostly about communication and twisting communication, creating lies and deceptions so that people believe the lies and get false images and false understandings of reality, and you know, destroying communication between people so that they don't connect all the words goes back and forth, but they are in different realities and just can't connect. And that's been my challenge. And so how can that be related to pride? Well, I believe that it links back to all of these rooms and all of these layers and the stuff that I've been going through, because if you are proud, thinking that everything I do is okay because I follow the book and it's fine, so I don't need to search deep down in my hidden rooms because I am already okay. That is pride. Then what happens? Well, you are blinded by pride, thinking that I am okay. There's nothing bad in me because I've been set free by the blood of Christ, or whatever because you have. But I am okay. That kind of bad stuff is not in me. If that is how we look at it, then chances are that that is pride preventing us from digging deep. And if we don't dig deep, whatever is down there has full control. And that is a little bit scary. Some people are, of course, born into good conditions and they don't have all this stuff, all this baggage with them. And that's great. But we can always invite stuff, bad stuff, without understanding what we do. And then other people, they are just born into, a house, a personal house that is full of crap. And, well, whatever the condition is, we all have junk down there. And it is the pride, the unwillingness to look, that is the biggest problem. That is what the Leviathan spirit and what all of these other things and forces can use to actually stay there and to have control in there and control aspects of our lives. And we don't want that. I mean, I do believe that not many of us want that. So I think it's time for a little bit of a prayer to get rid of it. So I say, thank you, Father. Thank you for seeing us in the things that we do, in our desire to do things the way that you want it to be done. I thank you that you bring us closer to you, and that you make us able to see the things that, well, are not really available to our human eyes, to our everyday view. I thank you, God, that you dig down deep for us and help us see and find those pieces that we really need. Help us see where the symptoms of our problems comes from. Help us find the areas in our lives that has been taken, that has been occupied by an enemy, whether it is inherited or whether it is something that we have invited in. Help us, God, to see it, and help us then to do the right things so that we can invite you in instead. Identifying it is key, and connecting to you and giving it all to you is also key. And I thank you, God, that you do this. You help us and guide us in a way that is gentle, in a way that is safe, and in a way that is rewarding. And I thank you that you give us strength and confidence that whatever comes, it's okay. You are with us. I thank you that you help us understand that it's okay to have dirt inside of our houses, inside of our personal space, because we are not perfect And even if we cast out a few tons, we're still not going to be. And it's something that is going around for all of us humans. That's the way it is. And so help us to deal with any kind of shame and guilt and feeling less than. Just stop that right away, God. We don't need to spend any time on that. The point is we are growing, and we want to be cleaner, and we want to be freer and closer to you. And I thank you that you know exactly where we are, so that we can take those steps that we can in our lives right now. And so to you that are listening, I would say, spend some time with God and ask yourself and ask Him, what is my area that I don't have under God control, to say it that way? What are my main areas, my weakest spots, and what is my arch enemy? What kind of power is it that is occupying and controlling parts of my life? Yes, it's the enemy, it's darkness, it's Satan, yes, but in order to close the door, in order to make a change, we have to know what kind of qualities is it? What kind of area, what kind of field am I going to focus on? And that's the kind of journey that I'm inviting you into right now. To spend time with God. And perhaps you should take a pen, a paper, and start writing and make notes and just pray over it and do it over and over several days. Because as you do it, things will change, and bit by bit, I do believe that God will reveal stuff to you. So may it be so, and may we all come closer to God. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, your will be done. That's what I had for this time. I cannot go into any further details right now, but I do want to go into spiritual war and spiritual warfare next time. I will bring up a little bit of the experiences from the prophetic gathering, but also the things that I've gone through in my life in general. And next time, that is of course next Saturday, 10 a.m. in California, 1 p.m. in Florida, 18 o'clock in the evening in London, and that means 19 o'clock in Central Europe. I want to give thanks to Kevin MacLeod. He is the one that creates the music that we are using, and it's free licensed. You can find it at incompetech.com. So thanks, Kevin, for that. And then I also want to mention that it is forming itself. It is going forward, both with the website and the services that we are able to offer there, and also with the prayer gathering. I have a few contacts. I am hoping that soon we will have online prayer on the radio once a month on the Saturdays. So that is something that I'm looking really forward to. But until I have the details and know that yes, now it's ready, I'm not going to say that, okay, it's coming this and this date, because it's a process, and you know who's the boss, so I just have to walk in the speed that he is preparing things. But until next Saturday, I hope you will be blessed. I hope I will see some of you in the prayer gathering, and God is with you.